In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm Katie and you're watching Skatey. Before we start moving backwards, there's just a couple of bits I need to go over. So obviously you need to be able to skate forwards first. Sounds kind of obvious, but it's a good place to start. The weight still needs to be over the ball of your foot. I know it might sound a little bit different because obviously we're going backwards, but you want to stop these falls. So definitely keep your weight on the ball of your foot. When you're skating backwards, the push comes from your instep. So it's sort of here, on this bit here when you push. So that's where you get your push from. And I also need to show you how to look backwards. Probably been doing this most of your life, but on the skates it's slightly different. So when you skate backwards, you want to turn your shoulders and open up. So you're looking behind you. Now everybody will have a preference on which side you look. I like to look over my left shoulder, but you have to put this shoulder back so you can see where you're going. But this is a really hard position to actually learn to skate backwards in. So what I suggest is to square your shoulders back up. And this is a much easier position to learn in. However, you are now not looking behind you. So you're gonna need a spotter, a friend who's gonna check what's behind you. If you're on your own, particularly if you're outdoors, check the floor for debris. So what I would suggest is clear all the twigs and the stones for an area, and then put a bag or something at the end of that area. So when you're going backwards and you spot your bag, you know, don't go any further because you could roll over a twig or a stone, and I don't want you falling over and I don't want it putting you off. And also talking about safety, I'm not wearing it. Please wear yours, especially helmet for backwards, because if you do one of these falls backwards, I don't want you hitting your head. Wrist guards, helmet, definite for backwards learning. A good place to start for backwards is to do a snake pattern. But a really good way to get yourself in the right position is to do a snake pattern forwards and stop. And now your feet are in the perfect position to push from the instep, like we said already, into your backward snake. But a really good way to do this is to forward snake towards something. So your counter in your kitchen, or a wall or a building if you're outside. And then you've got something in front of you to push yourself off, because from this is really hard. So push yourself off from something as you do your lemon. And do this a couple of times to get the feeling of the backward snake. And when you've got the feeling, you can keep going. Before you go too far, I've got a couple of safety things just to mention. So when you're doing a backwards bubble, lemon, snake, don't let the feet touch at the back. So once you go past the midpoint and they start to come in, you need to think about turning them out again, because the worst thing you can do is to let those feet touch the back, because you're going to go splat. Another thing to mention is to try and keep your snake patterns equal. Now everybody has a dominant foot. It's like being left-handed or right-handed. So one foot will be better at it than the other. If you have that and it's significantly different, try and get the weaker foot to join in. Push off from your, if you need to, whatever's in front of you, and weight on the ball of your foot. Press on the instep, and then before you get here, don't let them touch. So we're going to put more weight on the front of your feet, so more weight on the balls, so you can lift your heels and kick them out again. So pull them in, weight on the ball of your foot, kick them out, and there we go. And we are snaking. Now, I've always said that snake pattern isn't for everyone, so I'm going to show you an alternative to this as well. Once you've got your snake and you're snaking fabulously, there's progression. So you do a snake and then you lift a foot. Then you do a snake and you lift the other foot. I'll show you. So snake, lift, snake, lift, snake, lift, snake, lift. So that's just going to get you used to lifting your feet whilst you're going backwards. When you're skating backwards, you lift your free foot, the one that's not skating, forwards, because lifting it up backwards is quite awkward. So you always lift it forwards. The alternative to snake. Now, I always think of this, I don't think it has a name, but I just call it the wiggle, because you just got a bit of hip action going. So it's almost like a snake on one then the other. So push off again, much easier with a little bit of roll. And then you just kind of do one, then the other. So you get your little hip action going. And this is actually a lot easier. It's like a backwards slalom, and it's a lot easier. So as with the snake, the wiggle also has a progression where you can start to lift your feet. So if I show you, so you get your little wiggle going here, and then what you want to do is you want to slightly stagger your feet each time and feel the weight go on this back foot. So then you can lift the front one, just like that. Don't forget the push comes from the instep. So when I'm cruising, particularly when I'm outside, because I think it's safer to keep both feet on the ground backwards when you're outside, so I tend to do the wiggle. But if you're in a rink, then obviously you can do the full backwards skating where you lift your feet if you want to. For skating backwards, we always push from the inside. So with the snake, we do the inside, and with the alternative, we do the inside as well. So if you think about always having your feet turned slightly inwards like this, and then what you want to create is this sort of action. So it's almost like a march, but it's backwards. So you're kind of pushing away. Now this is backwards skating. So once you get used to this, you can actually start to straighten your feet. And the push will still come from the inside, but it's just not quite as obvious. And there we go. Backwards skating. You're really confident, you can then turn your shoulders. So far, we've just been concentrating on moving, but I better show you how to stop backwards as well. Now, I think stopping backwards is the easiest way to stop, because these things on the front of your skates actually come in really handy. You can either use one or two toe stops at the same time. And what you do is you just put the toe stop in ever so gently and then apply more pressure as you start to slow down. I shall show you. So here we go. So 1 foot, applying pressure, and easy. Should we show the 2 foot as well? Here we go. There. So you need to make sure that your toe stops aren't too high for this, because otherwise your foot will be too much of an angle. This toe stop's actually quite high, so I feel like I'm slightly tipping forwards. So make sure your toe stops are adjusted, so when you do that, you don't face plant, because that's not good. As with forward skating, when you do your crossovers, there is the same version of this for backwards, but I call it a backwards pull, because you don't pick the feet up like you do forwards. For the backwards one, the leg that's inside your circle pulls the other one across, and it pulls you round. I'll show you how I do it. So you want to put the leg inside and pull, so you don't lift this front foot. Back pulls are brilliant because you can get so much speed. In a much larger area, obviously, in a rink you can do 2 or 3 back pulls and you can be going so fast. They're really, really good for speed. So you think of it as plant that one and pull this one across. That's it. So plant, pull. So that's it. You should now have all the information you need to get you skating backwards Enjoy your journey and I'll see you next time. Bye. But yeah, I've rambled again, haven't I? I've rambled. Like ambidextrous or ambry-footstrous. Is that a thing? I don't know. And also, I've forgotten what the also was. Yeah. Can you use any of that?
Maybe.
You can skate forwards, you've got your balance and everything forwards before we start. And I'm rambling again. I want to go.